In archaeology, most discoveries fit into the story we already know. A pot belongs to a culture. A weapon belongs to a war. A monument belongs to a kingdom. But every so often, something turns up that does not seem to fit neatly anywhere. An object too advanced, too strange, too mysterious, or simply too difficult to explain. These are the artifacts people sometimes call out-of-place artifacts, and that phrase can be dangerous, because not every strange object is proof of a lost civilization, ancient technology, or impossible knowledge. Some artifacts are misunderstood, some are exaggerated, some have been turned into legends by people who wanted them to be more mysterious than they really are. But others are different. Some are real, some are ancient, some are still not fully understood, and a few force us to admit that the past was far more complicated than we like to imagine. Tonight, we are looking at 5 ancient artifacts that continue to raise questions. A sky map made of bronze, a world map that some claim shows impossible knowledge, a clay disc covered in symbols no one can read, a manuscript filled with unknown writing and impossible plants. And stay with me until the final artifact, because the last one is not just strange, unreadable, or controversial. It is a real ancient machine with gears, a device pulled from a shipwreck that seems to have calculated the movements of the heavens. We begin in Germany with an object that looks almost too beautiful to be scientific, the Nebra Sky Disc. At first glance, it looks simple, a round bronze disc, gold shapes set against a darkened surface, a crescent moon, a circle that may be the sun or full moon, clusters of stars, and what is often interpreted as the Pleiades. But the more scholars studied it, the stranger it became. The disc is not just decoration. It appears to represent the sky, not in a vague, symbolic way, but in a deliberate and meaningful way. The Nebra Sky Disc was buried thousands of years ago with other Bronze Age objects, including swords, axes, spiral arm rings, and a chisel. That context matters. This was not a random object dropped in the dirt. It seems to have been treated as something valuable, perhaps sacred, something worth placing into the ground with care. And that raises the question, what exactly was it? A religious object, a calendar, a teaching tool, a symbol of power, or some combination of all of those things? The mystery is not that Bronze Age people looked at the sky. Of course they did. The mystery is that this object appears to show a sophisticated connection between the heavens, time, ritual, and authority. It suggests that the people who made it were not just surviving beneath the stars. They were studying them, marking them, encoding them into metal. And that is what makes the Nebra Sky Disc feel out of place. Not because it should not exist, but because it reminds us how easy it is to underestimate the ancient world. Still, as strange as the Nebra Sky Disc is, at least we understand the sky. We understand the moon. We understand stars. The next artifact is more troubling because it is a map, and maps carry a different kind of mystery. They claim knowledge. They say, this is what the world looks like. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis created a world map. Only part of it survives today, but that surviving fragment became one of the most famous and controversial maps in history. The Piri Reis Map shows parts of Europe, Africa, and the Atlantic. It also shows parts of the New World. That alone is remarkable for a map made so early in the age of discovery. But the reason it became legendary is because some writers claimed it showed something even more astonishing. Antarctica. Not just Antarctica, but Antarctica before it was officially discovered. and in some versions of the claim, Antarctica without ice. If that were true, the implications would be extraordinary. It would suggest that Piri Reis had access to lost ancient maps, maps made by unknown navigators, maps preserving knowledge from a civilization far older than the one we know. That is the version that made the Piri Reis Map famous in mystery circles. But the more careful version is less dramatic, and maybe more interesting. Many scholars argue that the supposed Antarctic coastline is probably not Antarctica at all. It may be a distorted extension of South America, or a representation of a southern landmass imagined by cartographers at the time. The map is impressive, it is mysterious, but it is probably not proof of an ancient civilization mapping Antarctica thousands of years before modern explorers. And yet, even after stripping away the biggest claims, the Piri Reis Map remains fascinating, because it was created from sources, some known, some lost. It may have drawn from Portuguese maps, Arab geographic knowledge, and perhaps even material connected to Columbus. That means the real mystery may not be, did this map show Antarctica? The real mystery may be, what sources did Piri Reis have? What maps did he see that no longer survive? And how much knowledge disappeared with them? Sometimes an artifact is not mysterious because it proves an impossible theory. Sometimes it is mysterious because it is the surviving edge of a much larger world of lost information. The Piri Reis Map may not show a forgotten Antarctica, but it may preserve fragments of maps that are gone forever. And that brings us to an object even harder to read, a disc of clay, a spiral of symbols, a message, maybe, from the ancient Minoan world. The Phaistos Disc was found on Crete in 1908, inside the remains of the palace of Phaistos. It is not large, it is not made of gold, it does not look like a machine, but it may be one of the most puzzling written objects ever discovered. Both sides of the disc are covered in symbols, arranged in a spiral. Human figures, animals, tools, plants, shapes that repeat, as if they belong to some system. The symbols were not scratched by hand one at a time. They were pressed into the clay with stamps while it was still soft. That detail is important, because it means someone did not just write this object. They produced it using a method that feels almost like printing. And that is one reason the Phaistos Disc has fascinated researchers for more than a century. What is it? A prayer? A hymn? A calendar? A game? A royal proclamation? A magical text? A record of something lost? The problem is that no one knows. The symbols have not been convincingly deciphered. The language is unknown. And there is no large body of similar texts that would let scholars compare, test, and confirm a translation. That makes the Phaistos Disc a perfect archaeological frustration. It looks like it is trying to say something. It looks organized, intentional, meaningful. But the meaning remains locked behind symbols we cannot read. And unlike the Piri Reis Map, this is not a case where the mystery is mostly built from modern speculation. The mystery is sitting right there on the object itself, a spiral message from the Bronze Age, pressed into clay, fired, preserved, and still silent. But if the Phaistos Disc is frustrating, the next artifact is almost maddening, because it is not just a disc with symbols, it is an entire book. A book filled with page after page of writing, illustrations, diagrams, plants, stars, strange circular charts, and human figures and scenes no one can fully explain. It is called the Voynich Manuscript, and many have called it the most mysterious book in the world. The manuscript appears to date from the 15th century. It is written in an unknown script by an unknown author. No one knows its original purpose. No one knows exactly where it was made. And despite more than a century of attempts, no one has produced a universally accepted translation. That is what makes it so compelling. If the Voynich Manuscript were just random marks, it would be easier to dismiss. But it does not feel random. The text has structure. The symbols repeat in patterns. The illustrations appear organized into sections. There are plants that look almost real, but not quite. Astronomical diagrams, circular drawings, fold-out pages, and strange scenes that seem to belong to medicine, alchemy, astrology, or something else entirely. The possibilities are almost endless. Maybe it is written in a lost language. Maybe it is a code. Maybe it is a cipher. Maybe it is a hoax so elaborate that it fooled generations. Maybe it is meaningless text made to look meaningful. Or maybe it contains a message we simply have not learned how to see. That is the power of the Voynich Manuscript. It invites interpretation, it rewards obsession, and it refuses to open. The book has been studied by historians, linguists, cryptographers, computer scientists, and amateurs. Every few years, someone claims to have solved it, and every few years, the solution falls apart. The manuscript remains unread, a book that seems to promise knowledge while denying access to it. If this episode were only about mystery, the Voynich Manuscript could easily be the final artifact. A book no one can read is haunting enough, but the final object is different. The final object is not mysterious because we cannot read it. It is mysterious because we can read enough of it to understand what it did, and what it did seems almost impossible for its time. In 1901, divers investigating an ancient shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera recovered a corroded mass of bronze. At first, it did not look like much, just fragments, broken metal, the kind of wreckage that might easily be overlooked. But as researchers studied it, they realized something extraordinary was hidden inside. Gears, not one simple gear. A complex system of interlocking gears, dials, inscriptions, mechanical relationships. The object became known as the Antikythera Mechanism, and it has been called the world's oldest known analog computer. That phrase sounds modern. Almost wrong. A computer from the ancient world? But that is what makes it so astonishing. The Antikythera Mechanism appears to have been used to model astronomical cycles. It could track the movements of heavenly bodies. It could help predict eclipses. It connected time, astronomy, calendars, and mechanical engineering in a way that still feels shocking. This was not a sculpture, not a symbol, not a mysterious drawing. It was a machine. A machine made in the ancient Greek world more than 2,000 years ago. And for many people, that is where the object becomes truly unsettling. Because if something this complex existed, where are the others? Was this a unique masterpiece? Was it the product of a whole tradition of mechanical devices that simply did not survive? Did ancient engineers make more machines like it? And if they did, how much technology was lost? The Antikythera Mechanism does not prove ancient astronauts. It does not require a vanished super-civilization. It does not need exaggeration to be amazing. The real object is astonishing enough, because it tells us that ancient knowledge could be practical, mathematical, mechanical, and precise. It tells us that people more than 2,000 years ago were not only watching the heavens, they were building machines to calculate them, and that is why it belongs at the end of this list. The Nebra Sky Disc shows the sky encoded in bronze. The Piri Reis Map hints at lost sources and disputed knowledge. The Phaistos Disc preserves an unreadable spiral message. The Voynich Manuscript holds an entire book behind an unknown script. But the Antikythera Mechanism is different. It moves the mystery from symbol to machinery, from message to mechanism, from wonder to engineering. And maybe that is the real lesson of out-of-place artifacts. The strongest ones are not always the ones that prove the wildest theory. They are the ones that force us to look at the past with more humility. Because ancient people were not simple, their worlds were not empty, their minds were not primitive. They observed, calculated, recorded, mapped, experimented. And sometimes they built things so sophisticated that when we find them centuries later, we are tempted to call them impossible. But maybe they were never impossible. Maybe we just forgot what the ancient world was capable of. So, what do you think? Which of these artifacts is the most mysterious? The sky disc, the map, the clay message, the unreadable book, or the ancient machine from the sea? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you enjoy strange history, eerie legends, and impossible cases, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Strange Dispatch, and ring the bell so you do not miss the next journey into the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Until next time, keep searching the shadows, follow the questions wherever they lead, and remember, the past is never as simple as it seems.
Static on the wire, shadows in the light. One more strange transmission, calling through the night. Did you see the crash at Corona? Did you hear the screams at Bray Road? Did the black night pass above us, where the satellites don't go? From the back rooms humming softly to the halls of Agatha below, there's a trail of hidden stories, and we follow where they go. Lock the dial, don't look back, something waits beyond the black. Strange dispatch tonight, strange dispatch tonight. When the world gets weird, we bring the